This video is being posted on April 24th, which means that we are 2 days away from the release of Avengers Endgame, or rather 1 day away if you happen to buy Thursday night tickets. I'm seeing it on Saturday, so if anybody spoils it for me, I will hurt them. The movie is so close, and yet we still don't really know a whole lot about the plot. I mean, we know the basics. The Avengers are gonna team up one more time to fight Thanos and try and undo what he did in Avengers Infinity War. Now, to be fair, Marvel has always been very militant with regards to spoilers. It just feels like with this movie, they're going all out to keep their secrets safe. Which is, of course, understandable. This is their biggest movie ever, after all, and having secrets and building up a mystery is a great way to drum up hype for a film. But there is still that lingering question of just what is exactly going to happen. How are the Avengers going to fix everything and bring everybody back? Well, we really won't know until the movie comes out and we go see it in theaters. So until then, we're just going to have to wait. Unless, of course, you read the comic that this movie is based on, in which case, you might have an idea as to how the movie is going to resolve itself. Okay, so again, like I did last week, I don't necessarily think I need to throw up a spoiler alert because this is all just wild speculation. I could very much be wrong. And for reasons I'll get into a little bit later, I don't necessarily think Marvel is going to go through with the ideas that I'm going to talk about in this video. However, I do think having a little bit of knowledge of what happens in the comics will give us a good idea of what to expect in Avengers Endgame. So if you don't even want an idea of what could possibly happen in Avengers Endgame, then consider this your spoiler warning. Turn off this video and go watch something else, maybe Bob's video from yesterday. So, Avengers Endgame is the direct follow-up to last year's Avengers Infinity War. Both films are based on the 1991 graphic novel, The Infinity Gauntlet by Jim Starlin, with art by Ron Lim and George Perez. I talked about it about a year ago, which you can watch up here. So long story short, Infinity Gauntlet is the story of Thanos trying to impress the personification of death in the Marvel Universe by collecting the Infinity Gems and wiping out half of all living beings in existence. Of course, just like in the movie, the surviving Avengers must now try to figure out not only what happened, but how to stop Thanos and reverse what he did. And not to get too into detail on the plot of Infinity Gauntlet, but by and large, it doesn't go well for the Avengers. Thanos kicks all of their asses, and then he goes on to kick everybody else's ass who tries to come up and step to him. So how do they wind up reversing the snap in the comics? Well, surprisingly, all it took was one person getting a hold of the Infinity Gauntlet while Thanos' mind was elsewhere. But who, if it's not an Avenger, since they're all either dead or defeated? Well, surprisingly, it's not one of the Avengers. It's actually one of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Technically, I don't think she was a Guardian when this comic came out. I don't think she was a Guardian at all in the comics. It's Nebula. It's his daughter, Nebula. Nebula is able to remove the Infinity Gauntlet from Thanos after he's left in a comatose state after becoming the most powerful being in the universe. She uses the Gauntlet to first restore herself to her original form, and then she uses it to restore the universe to its original state, bringing back everybody who disappeared in the original snap. And that's just getting into how they bring everybody back. That's not getting into how they ultimately wind up defeating Thanos in Infinity Gauntlet. And also Nebula, because she wasn't exactly a good guy in the end, but we're focusing on how they defeat Thanos. That would require Adam Warlock, who has not appeared in the MCU yet, outside of a quick tease in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. He manages to steal the gauntlet from Nebula, forcing Thanos to threaten to blow himself up and everybody else along with him. This causes Thor to smack him with his hammer into space, making him blow up without harming anybody. Except, of course, he doesn't really explode, he just goes off into hiding on a farm somewhere. But he is ultimately defeated because of this. Now, I tried very hard to simplify this story. When they talk about cosmic Marvel, Infinity Gauntlet is one of the most cosmic Marvel stories you can get. I mean, this book features pretty much every major cosmic character in the Marvel Comics universe, from Galactus to Kronos to the living embodiment of eternity itself. The book just spans galaxies and alternate realities, and when it isn't trying to explain a lot to you through dialogue or narration boxes, it's showing you splash pages that more or less look like this. But the basic idea is Nebula is the one that gets a hold of the Infinity Gauntlet and uses it to undo Thanos' snap for pure revenge, simply because she hates him. And it's Thor who deals the killing blow to Thanos, ultimately ending his current reign of terror. So, everything I just said, does that mean that this is how Avengers Endgame is going to conclude? Yes, but also probably no. So I'm sure by now you can guess that Infinity War, the movie, is substantially different from Infinity War, the comic, even though they share the same basic plotline and elements. For one thing, Thanos' motivations in the movie are vastly different from what they are in the comics. In the movie, it's more or less misguided altruism, trying to restore balance to the universe, thinking he's doing a good thing while doing a very bad thing to do it. In the comics, he's literally just trying to impress a girl he likes. The comic is really more about the cosmic fallout of what Thanos did and Thanos' quest for more power. Hell, he snaps his fingers and deletes half the universe in the first issue. The rest of the series is all about the fallout from that. They don't wind up spending a majority of the series showing Thanos acquiring all the stones and the Avengers trying to stop him. He just gets them and does it. So I don't think Endgame's resolution is ultimately going to be very similar to Infinity Gauntlet's resolution. As much as Marvel Studios takes inspiration from the Marvel comics, they've shown time and again that they're willing to alter the comics to fit their films, and they're willing to alter the comics to an almost unrecognizable state sometimes. But that doesn't necessarily mean I think it's a waste of time to look to the comics for hints and clues as to what's going to happen in the movies. Especially because while I think Endgame will be drastically different from Infinity Gauntlet, I think that in at least two aspects, it's going to be strikingly similar. And those two aspects are Nebula and Thor. Their respective roles from the end of Infinity Gauntlet could possibly fit into any number of possible outcomes for the final Endgame release. Let me give you an example. We know from the one scene that Marvel put out before the release of Endgame that Thanos still has the ability to use the Infinity Stone. So either he has another gauntlet that he can use, he fixed the Infinity Gauntlet, or he has another vessel to harness the power of the stones.
He used the stones again.
So what if he's using this new Infinity Gauntlet to fight the Avengers one final time, and he's about ready to deal the killing blow to all of them, when all of a sudden, Nebula comes out of nowhere, and they have a heart-to-heart talk. Nebula would be all like, man, you never loved me, and then Thanos would be all like, I just wanted you to be better, and she would come back at him and be all like, you just wanted power, and then Thanos would say, it was never about power, and while they're having this back and forth, Thanos lets his guard down, and Nebula can just take the gauntlet off him easily. She could then use the gauntlet to of course take out Thanos, but then restore the universe to the way it was, the ultimate act of revenge against the man who abused and mistreated her. Also, she could use the gauntlet to restore herself to her original non-cyborg form, kind of like how in the comics she used it to return herself to her non-zombified form. And with regards to Thor, well, he did fail to stop Thanos the first time around, remember? He hit him in the chest instead of the head. I imagine that this is going to weigh on Thor heavily throughout the runtime of Endgame, feeling like he could have been the one to stop Thanos but ultimately couldn't, and just wanting to be the one to lay the final smackdown on the Mad Titan. In dealing the final blow, it would not only be a great nod to the comics, but it would also be a great way to wrap up Thor's story arc throughout the course of these past two films, a way to redeem himself after failing to stop Thanos the first time. It just makes all the sense in the world for Marvel to use what worked before in the comics and put that on screen as a way to end their big cinematic epic. Now, will they do that? I have no idea. Should they do that? Yeah, of course they should. Now, of course, if they do come up with a newfangled way to stop Thanos and reverse the snap, I'm not going to be too upset about it. I just will have this niggling sense in the back of my mind of what could have been. But I'm sure whatever they come up with will be just fine. good even. Hell, it might even be better given the context of what they're going to wind up doing in Endgame anyway. I mean, if nothing else, the writing team of Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely, and of course the directors Anthony and Joe Russo, have put out some very damn good Marvel films, some of the best in the cinematic universe. So I think they have enough left in the tank for one more good, entertaining Marvel film, possibly a great Marvel film. So let's have at it. This weekend cannot come soon enough. I think I'm ready. I think we're all ready for Avengers Endgame, whatever the outcome may be. But how do you think Avengers Endgame will ultimately end? Do you think it'll stick close to the comics and have Nebula and Thor play a pivotal role, or do you think they're going to do something wildly different? Let me know down below or anywhere on the internet. Please only post speculation. Do not post spoilers. Don't be that person. If you want to wait a week and then post spoilers like a week after Endgame comes out and you post spoilers in the comments, that's fine. Until then, just theories. Don't be a dick. And don't forget that we have new videos every Tuesday and Wednesday, with Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern being Wulff Den Live. So subscribe to see all of that, like this video, and share it with a friend who doesn't really have an idea of how Endgame might end. Show them this video to give them a sense of how the comics did it, so that they have an idea of how the movie might do it. Although that could backfire and they can now expect the comic book ending to be the movie ending and then be mad that the movie didn't live up to it. Show them this video anyway, just share it. Thank you all for watching. I will see you next time.